Meeting to call to order. I think, nope, I know we have to do the Pledge of Allegiance, so if everyone could just stand. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Do we have any proposed requests to change the agenda?
I'd like to make one request if I could, and move item E1, the presentation of the fiscal year 22-23 audit, to immediately after the adoption of the agenda, so before item C, the consent calendar.
Does anybody
Yes.
object?
Yeah, I'm here to make a comment, not to wade through a long meeting. So I would like to be able to comment first.
About the agenda or regarding
No,
public comment?
public comment.
Can we move item D before item E1 in its movement?
Well, it would
It's 3 minutes, or what?
really be left in order. So it's up to you guys.
No, your Madam President, it's up to you.
Mm-hmm.
So I think Chris is suggesting is if we take item D after item B, and
Yes.
item E1 after item D, then
That
you
is,
go to
that is correct. At least we're skipping the consent calendar and getting people home faster.
Well, not skipping, but moving.
Moving it down.
You're welcome.
Is everyone in agreement to that one?
Yeah.
Sure.
Nobody cares, you can do it.
We're a team and a board up here, everyone gets to be heard. Okay, so I will adopt the agenda with the D, public comment, being moved right after the agenda, and then E1 being removed right after public comment.
Thank you.
Okay, let's see. Public comment, D.
Yes. Happy 2024, everybody. Congratulations, Kathleen.
Thank you.
And the question I have tonight is 2024 going to be a better year than 2023, 2022, back to 2006 or whatever, whenever Bill got elected. Is anything going to change? Are you going to do anything of significance to improve the functioning of this facility, or the board, or are you going to just maintain it? Because the history has been just maintain, approve, nod, close the meeting out as quickly as possible. Now I know you're busy people, but think about who you serve and the importance of your position. You are the future of this community. The decisions you make tonight affect not only this community this year, but for many years to come. We now have a $2 million facility that was built with from an architect who served on your committee and had very close ties to the CSD. How is it doing? All the equipment's still outside. I'm asking you to do stuff to make this community better, not just maintain it. Maintain it well. You know, the staff puts in hard work, but you are the ones that need to test and to make the community better. And if you're not putting forth that effort, it's not going to happen. And that's all I have to say. I wish you the best of luck. Hopefully you'll have good news. You've raised taxes, but I don't see park benches for our seniors and our people. I see erosion. I don't see a public toilet. We have a porta potty. I mean, with the amount of money that goes through this place, you can do a whole heck of a lot better. And it's so frustrating. The reason I've just kind of given up on this whole concept of representative government, but I hope you don't. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. E1, district matters.
Good. Before he goes, I'll just introduce, this is Michael O'Connor from O'Connor and Company. He formerly was with Ricky Yardy, RJ Ricky Yardy and Company, who has been doing our audit for many years. Ricky Yardy retired, and Michael opened his own accountancy. Michael had been doing our audit for several years, and for the last 3 years, a different audit partner had done it. So this year, Michael came back and performed our audit for us, so he's very familiar with our district, with our finances, kind of all things Marinwood. So with that, I'd just like to introduce Michael O'Connor to the board.
Hi.
Welcome.
Members
Nice to
of the
see you
board of
again.
directors. So I'm here to present financial statements. Feel free to interrupt me at any time with questions. Basically, I wanted to turn to page 1 and 2 of the report. So 1 and 2 of the financial statements, this is our opinion. Everything was done in accordance with all the regulations and professional standards. There was no modifications. It's the best opinion you can receive. It will be on our letterhead. We do work with the board of directors, and our contact information is there if you ever want to contact me or anybody at our firm with questions or anything. So feel free to do that. Next, I'd like to turn to page 7. So page 7, this is your statement of net position at June 30, 2023. It's on a full accrual basis like your for-profit company. So, and this is a snapshot of that date. So the last line there is total net position, 1,813,980, so very much in the black. As you can see, most of it is tied up in your facilities, but that's all I really wanted to point out there. And if we move to page 8, statement of activities, this is also on a full accrual basis. And it shows all your activity for the year ended June 30, 2023. It starts out with the expenses. Governments are in the business of providing services, and those are the costs of those services. Then the charges for services that you collect to offset it. What left over is what the taxpayers subsidize. For change in net position, 5th line from the bottom, you had revenues in excess of expenditures of $2 million. Which help remove the prior deficit to now positive position. The next page, 8, page 9. Now this is on a modified accrual basis. It's almost like a cash basis, and these are a balance sheet. And it just shows more current activity, current assets and liabilities. The second line from the bottom, so your general fund. I had 7,492,000 positive fund balance, and then Measure A had 21,000. People like to think, how much is in this pot of money, how much is in that. So the government general fund pot, you have that 7,000 and 21,000 Measure A. So, also like to turn to page 11. Page 10 and 12 are reconciliations between modified accrual and full accrual. So here we go, it's like the statement of activities. Same idea, it shows all your activity for the year. And the, so I guess it's like 5th line from the bottom, your general fund had revenues in excess of expenditures, 779,904. And Measure A had expenditures in excess of revenues, 46,340. And that's all I wanted to point out on this. And at the behind this is all the notes, the financial statements, they tell you about the policies and procedures that the district has, and they get into more detail about your capital assets, your debt, and your pension liabilities, and your retirement health liabilities. There's more information. And that's it. If you have any questions, feel free to ask me, or you can contact me anytime.
Anyone have any questions?
No.
I thought it was, we're getting better. The only thing I don't like is the increase in long-term liabilities. But that's not our fault, that was
This
first.
year.
Well, I will say too, you had such a sharp increase this year because you had a very sharp decrease last year.
Yeah.
Because the last measurement period that was included in what's known as our GASB 68 valuation reflected the 20% net investment return that CalPERS managed to achieve. This year's represents the negative 6% or whatever it was. So you had a huge, you went from one level of long-term liability, which dropped dramatically due to extraordinary investment returns. Then it rose due to a negative investment return. So it's
Yeah.
for even by CalPERS standards, it took pretty massive spikes in both directions over the last couple of years due to their investment returns.
Right.
But yeah, I don't disagree with you though.
And we will be talking about that further on down the line on things that we can do to attempt to start paying maybe something of that down, right?
Yeah, I mean, if I was just to point out a couple highlights from this, I mean, obviously the change in that position is nice, when he was showing from the governmental activities, and it's kind of tricky when you talk about a governmental net position, but to be able to move that from 209,000 up to 1.8 million year over year is good. It wasn't only 5 or 6 years ago that number was in the negative, basically telling us that we were financially insolvent. And then the other one that Michael did point out is just showing, even with some extraordinary capital projects that have taken place over the last couple of years, we still had an excess of revenue over expenditure of roughly 780,000. So I do think we continue to move from an operating funding position in the right direction of being much more conservative, as well as just kind of sticking within budget and understanding where our finances lie. So I'm pleased with that. The number was higher the last couple of years, but again, with finishing off the park maintenance facility, then the beginning of incurring expenses with the project out back, we had a lot of capital expenditure that went into this number that typically wouldn't be there. So
Yeah, and some of them would be like that.
All right.
I have no questions.
Any other questions? All right.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very
There
much.
you go. Thank you for coming.
Have a good one.
Thanks a lot.
All right.
Michael,
See you here.
thank you. I'll be in
Safe.
touch,
Yeah.
and we'll get final copies and call it a day. Till next year.
Doesn't want to hang around.
No, we're not that entertaining apparently.
I mean, just wait. Onto the consent calendar. Any questions?
No. Motion to approve.
No, I just,
I'll second.
how much further are we paying into FEMA?
From what was on here through December, geez, you're pressing me. I want to say our contract for that at the point of our most recent payment, which might have actually been the first week of January, there's about 170,000 remaining
Okay,
to be spent
yeah,
in accordance with the contract itself. Yeah.
okay.
And then sometime this year we'll get some reimbursement.
Well,
Yeah.
sometime this year we'll hopefully find out if we'll get reimbursed when we actually receive the
Did they
reimbursement.
It's still.
pour the pilings yet?
The wall's done. So, and I'll give you an update on where that project is with my
Okay.
district manager.
No,
no, no,
But from a
I-
financial spending part, we have about 170,000 left on that contract.
Yeah.
That also includes the 5% retainage that we hold back from every payment.
Yeah, the last time I was in the creek, looking at it, they hadn't poured into the columns yet.
Yeah, no, yeah, I'll give you more detail when we get to that part, but the retaining wall is done and poured, and right now we're focusing and moving towards, creating the proper, soil lets for the slope, and then, waterproofing, so the project's coming to a close.
All in favor?
Hi.
I,
Second.
Guys, seconded.
Great.
I got this. Just kidding. Okay, E2. District matters for appointed board liaison for the fire commission and the park and rec commission.
I did give you a little bit of a staff report here. This is what we do every year in January, where 2 board members are appointed to each of the respective commissions, being the fire commission and the park and rec commission, to serve as liaisons for the board to those commissions. And then I just gave you a snippet as to what comes straight out of the board bylaws. Talking about the board liaison position, I know Kathleen has been with the fire commission for probably at least 2 years. 3 years, and Chris is, I think, just completing his 2nd year with the Park and Rec Commission. Appointments are strictly a matter for the board. We're happy to have any one of you who would like to show up to another meeting once every other month.
Does anybody really feel compelled to do Park and Rec?
When you need a break, take
Have
it.
fun? I don't mind either
I
way.
think you really like it.
Yeah, I don't mind either way, but if somebody wants to jump on it, it's fine.
I hate to take anything away from them.
Okay, then I'll stick with it, I don't mind.
I'll just show up here at the
I'll call you when I can't make it.
And does anyone, I mean, I'm really want fire, but I'm willing to give it up if anyone really wants to.
I mean, I would be happy to step up for fire if you would like to take more time for your presidency, but either way.
If you really want it, I
She
am
really
excited about
likes
this.
She really likes it.
I do, I'm really excited about this year because there's so many changes. So, it's up to, I mean, it's, if you really want it, you can have it, but I really like you.
And I would like to continue representing the board with the NWPA.
That's not-
Right, put that on the agenda at some point.
That's not on here.
You can put that as an item of interest.
We can add it later. Okay. I'm gonna hold on to it. Thank you.
Cafe back here.
No.
So I'm going to appoint myself for fire commission, but Lisa is my backup if I can't make it. And Chris, I'm going to appoint to Park and Rec.
I'll be his backup.
And then with Savon as a backup. He goes on vacation
Which is
6 times a year.
just through the summer.
And I would also say though, too, Lisa, there's nothing preventing you from also attending the fire commission meetings if you so choose, because that would only be 2 board members, so you'd still have less than a quorum, and you'd be fine with that too. so.
Okay, all right, perfect.
Maybe you'll crush the meeting.
Yes, please do.
Okay, so we have Chris is staying with PNR, Kathleen is staying with fire, and Lisa's gonna crash from time to time.
And Savon might crash PNR.
Okay?
All right, district manager report. It's you.
Let me just get through a couple little things first here, and then we'll skip back to the top. Since we already started talking about the Creek Bank slide repair project, certainly gave you a bit of an update here. Work does continue to answer Bill's question from earlier. The entire concrete retaining wall has been poured, is laid in place, that work is done. They are front filling to some degree right now. They've been a little bit slowed by the weather, but nothing that we didn't halfway anticipate going into this, and the schedule wasn't built around that already. So we're still on a good scheduled track. We actually met today, myself, the project manager for the contractor, and the engineer who designed the waterproofing component of this for us. The 3 of us met, went down just to kind of gauge the exact scope of work, what was needed. based on looking at the construction plans from when that building was built and redone kind of early 90-ish, what you never really know until you start moving earth that what the plans show is what it really is, but if it holds true, it will be a slightly smaller scope than what was originally put out for bid and bid upon, so there is a good chance that might actually reduce cost of that component. That said, this is, it's a $40,000 add-on to the whole thing, so it's not gonna reduce cost dramatically because this component of the project is a pretty low cost component overall. But we'll keep you informed as to that. They are hoping, as weather allows, to be able to start digging that out, getting down to the bottom of the foundation and be able to uncover what is currently unknown, just make sure it does jive with what the building plans say, and if it does, that work should be able to wrap up pretty quickly. All the drainage will be tied in, and then from there, it's just a matter of backfilling and compacting soil, going through a final inspection with the county and being able to sign that project off. And then there are some monitoring and planting requirements as well from the contractor that are part of the environmental regulations, where we have to provide updates and pictures every year on an annual basis, just to note for any unintended erosion or consequences of the project and the creek bed alteration. Otherwise, that project moves right along, so if there's any questions about that, and as I alluded to earlier, I don't have any update on timing for FEMA or anything else, other than FEMA is pretty steadfast against funding the waterproofing component, but we are working with Cal OES, who also has a pot of mitigation funding and slightly different requirements to see if they would, if it would be an allowable expense for them to pick up their share of it. So we'll see what happens. Again, small dollar from relatively speaking on just that component of it. The Marinwood Park Playground, I know Luke has some in his report. I just more of a note that we've initiated the closeout process. Only step right now, we're just kind of finalizing some signage that has to go out there. Chris, I'd actually like to speak with you briefly outside of the meeting still about some of the thoughts that we're putting on that, just in terms of recognizing funding sources and everything else too. So, but that is going along good. I don't have an exact timing for closeout. Again, dealing with state government agencies, so but they are aware of where we stand, and they're aware that we're looking to close this out. So I'm expecting a final visit at some point from a state representative. Any questions about those two things before we move on?
On the playground, we had to have it completed by a certain date, didn't we?
We did. That date has actually moved out. At one point in time, that date was December 31st of 2023, and then it became June 30th of 2024, and now I want to say, I believe it's June 30th of 2025. The state keeps pushing back. But that said, we're good, because the project is for all practical purposes done. We literally, the only thing we have left to do from a grant requirement is they have some signage requirements that have to go up, and once that is up, we can literally close this project out. So we're in really good shape there.
Okay.
Kudos, because apparently other people were not able to get their stuff done, so it got moved out. So
Yeah, I don't
kudos to you
know
guys.
exactly why. I didn't read the fine,
We'll just go with that.
print of why they
We made
pushed
it.
it back. I just knew that our project's done, we don't need this extension, we're fine.
Yeah.
Which is great. So, then otherwise,
I have one question.
yes,
We are now in the rainy season.
yep.
Is it going to delay any of our construction back here?
That was built into the schedule for
That's what I
potential rain days. No, the work that we really wanted to have completed before the rainy season has been completed.
Okay.
So the other work is just kind of ancillary work at this point in time. It could rain every single day for the next month, and that area would be in very good shape to withstand high, increased creek flows, high water levels. It's stable back there with the wall in place now. So it's all in good shape there, but those guys, unless it is literally raining out, they're out there working, which is great. So once they finish, then there'll definitely need to be some turf restoration that happens out in the pool area, but otherwise, we'll be okay.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And then finally, I just wanted to introduce Chief Abraham Roman, who was serving as the acting fire chief for the city of Santa Fe, which then also makes him the acting fire chief for the Marinwood Fire Department. As you were informed last month, Fire Chief Darren White did resign from the city of Santa Fe. I will let Chief Roman introduce himself. I will just say that Chief Roman has been with the Santa Fe Fire Department for going on a couple of years now?
Year and a half.
Year and a half. I've had several interactions with Chief Roman during this time. He was serving as the deputy fire chief. He and I have met on several occasions. He's been by the firehouse on several occasions. I have no concerns about operations continuing business as usual as far as the fire department goes. He has a long and acclaimed history in the fire business. They're in good hands. Otherwise, I will allow Chief Roman to introduce himself, please.
Well, thank you, Eric, and thank you, Board. Yes, Abe Roman, I've been a firefighter for the last 37 years. Up until a year and a half ago, I worked with the city of Berkeley and actually retired from there as the fire chief in 2022, after serving 24 years there. I've also served a fair amount of time with either CAL FIRE or a fire district in Sonoma County called Gold Ridge Fire District. I actually served there for, even when I was a full-time firefighter, I still served as a volunteer there up until 2013 when I got promoted to assistant chief in there. So I'm very astute to the workings of both the municipalities and fire districts and CSD districts to a certain extent, how they work and board members and that kind of stuff. So I'm very astute to that, to how those politics work and how my political alignments and friends work also on those aspects also. But I'm very excited to work, to be here. I'm very excited to work with the Engine 58, which we know it as Engine 58 and everybody else knows it's Maroon Fire, but for us it's Engine 58 engine, who we know it as. So we're really excited to partner with you, partner with the commission, and see where we are. I tend to be a very visionary type of person. Early on in my career as a fire chief, I learned that I have to be visionary and I have to go away from the potholes of life and transition of stuff that happens. So I'm very visionary how I do that, and I try to rope in the rest of the fire department to also be visionary with me. So we'll see what kind of opportunities are out there. I'm always constantly searching for opportunities, how to make the service better, how to make the service better to the community, and certainly know my job as a community servant. I still consider myself, even though I'm fire chief, I still very much consider myself a firefighter. I mean, if they're, like I've told my battalion chiefs this, if I show up and you tell me you need some hose pulled on that side, guess what I'm gonna do? I still carry an SCBA tank in my pickup truck in case there's a fire, so I'm gonna go inside and fight the fire also. So, but I was thinking about it this morning. I was 14 years old when I started volunteer firefighting. And I go, just because I wear a brass badge now doesn't mean that I don't get to go to fires. I still do what I very much have been doing for the last 37 years. So very excited to be here. Like I said, I'm very, very passionate about the fire service. I've got an opportunity to be a strike team leader. I was on the Tubbs Fire as I was doing all sorts of work there. I was on multiple fires I've been on certainly since 2017. I've been on probably every single one of them in Sonoma County for sure. I'm doing some kind of leadership type of role that I feel in that. So I feel like I'm pretty experienced in stuff like that. We still get stuff that I've never seen before on occasion, but I'm very good about managing and kind of figuring out what kind of help I need and what kind of resource I need. I'm always available to anybody. Just I do warn you that sometimes I get my email gets a little behind or my phone messages, so it might take me a little bit of time to get back to you. But I'm always open. I do have an open door policy for my folks. I do have a very strict chain of command policy. As long as the captain and the battalion chief know, they're more than welcome to come in. And certainly my door's open to you with no chain of command. You are my
Maybe
direct
not talk to Eric first.
So, and thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We're fortunate to have Chief Roman and his familiarity to step into this. So thank you, Chief. I always appreciate and enjoy working with you. So we'll be just fine. I did cut Chief Roman a little bit of slack given this recent transition and a plate that was already overflowing, starting to just stack up vertically and horizontally. So we don't have a traditional fire chief report this month. He was able to provide the regular statistics that you guys enjoy seeing, and I know the fire commission especially enjoys seeing, but hopefully with the coming meetings, we'll get back into more kind of updated chief reports on a regular basis.
Yeah.
But all things considered, I thought it was a pretty fair compromise to say. we'll bring you up
Yeah.
to speed next time.
Well, and I think that the chief report can change also, I mean, as I've been on the board, it's changed, you know, COVID stuff got put on, COVID stuff's been taken off, so if there's other things that you think that we should know about, that we don't know about, I think that that would be fun.
Okay, and then certainly if there's anything that you want to see that we're not producing there, and I do want to make it, and both for you and the commission also, I want to make it productive, so as much as we can with the information and whatever information exchange we need to make for sure. So I am very interested in making sure that we have alignment to what information you want. It serves me no purpose to give you a bunch of information that you guys don't really need, but it serves me a lot of purpose if it's something that you desire for sure. So if we could do alignment on that, that would be great.
Great.
Is
The only
it-
thing I
Should
could,
we say it?
yeah.
Cell phone service?
Oh,
Lack of cell phone service?
There is a lack of cell phone service, especially
In the
during.
valley.
in the
Yeah, so
valley.
I know that we're working with Southern Marine Fire because they have that similar type of issue, and we're working with them to kind of figure out if we can push cell phone service to be a priority there. So I'll follow up on that. I know that Chief White had talked to me briefly about that, and I'm not sure where we're at with that, but I'll follow up on that for sure.
Because we had the fire and nobody got any,
Well, they
Not
also
nobody,
were talking
AT&T
to
clients.
our supervisor too.
yeah,
Okay.
I mean, anyone.
Mary Sackett. And then, but I guess the other thing that we had asked Chief White about is like the evacuations, right?
Mhm.
And
Yes.
the new stuff from,
Yes,
Is it
just,
from the
yeah, just
NWP?
learnings that we had from the fire
Yeah.
that we had here in
The
Lucas.
NWPA put out the thing, but that goes to the organizations for the cities and towns and CSDs, and everybody gets it, and they have to, they're working off of that report.
yeah, so we were hoping to.
Yeah, no, and then that's an important part of it. And just to let you know, I'm also working on our law enforcement partners on there because I do, what I was told that there was some miscommunication on law enforcement also on there. So I really want to tighten that up. We are in the process of creating a playbook for all our area to make sure that we, and it's very simple, but to the point where we could actually pull an addendum to it and say, this is our priorities for this. The MWPA also, we approved, on the operations side, approved the new software for evacuation routing and that kind of stuff.
Okay.
So trying to operationalize that part of it also on the component of that. So a mixture of the Zone Haven, the new software that we have for all kind of stuff, and I think we'll wind up with a good product on there. And I have some other ideas on what we can do. In Berkeley, I spent a fair amount of time in developing that system there. What's
Yeah.
that?
Yeah, they need evacuations.
Yeah, so I've spent a fair amount of time on that. So working on that, especially with our law enforcement partners.
Because I think with the evacuation map, they only listed Lucas Valley, and so they didn't list Miller Creek, correct?
I don't know.
Like, that was the main exit, so that's why he was not in favor of that exact map.
Yeah, and then, so the new technology that we have out there, and I just saw it on last operation through the NWPA, looks pretty awesome. And that's the best way I can describe it, it's pretty awesome to be able to properly assess what our priorities are, properly assess and calculating how many residents we have there and what truly is our priority. Do I need to like evacuate everybody out of Marinwood, or can I strategically place a certain area that I need to evacuate faster? And that's really where we need to be, because otherwise we know what happens with evacuations. It's gridlock, it's chaos, it's all that kind of stuff like that. But if we could strategically work with our partners and strategize how we want specific sections to be evacuated first, based on the priority, based on fire conditions and the threat that's there, we're a lot better off to be able to do that actual evacuation on a more coordinated zone. So I'm totally interested in that, because I have seen, working through the Tubbs fire, I've seen what happens when we don't have plans like that. And absolutely, we do not want to be in that position.
No, we don't.
And where do people go when they are evacuating? Where are they evacuating to?
Yeah, and that's an important point. Like right now, our go-to has always been Civic Center. That's always Civic Center.
For the mall.
That's fine and dandy, but if everybody's going to Civic Center, guess what? We have an issue when we have to evacuate, say even, and I'm going to say simple, maybe just 2,000 people. I'm not talking about the 20,000 people that we probably more likely it's going to happen. But if we strategically have to just evacuate 2,000 people out of a certain area, that's going to take some time. So being able to figure that part out on where we need to evacuate people out there, and get them out of the area, out of harm's way as fast as possible, and that is the priority. And it really does help when we do that strategically, prioritize that. There's a lot more actual firefighting that we could actually do rather than, you know, on the Tubbs fire, I'll tell you right now, we spent, and including myself, at the time I had a small Ford Explorer. I had 11 people in my car evacuating them out, and I stuffed every single section of that car with people in there. But it was everything that we could do just to save people, just to get on harm's way. So I know, you know, probably, you know, I'm sure I have some kind of PTSD, but my PTSD develops in having a structure on what to do with this incident. I'm also developing right now an actual command truck, pickup truck for the battalion chiefs to be able to have all their technology there. Right now we have pickup trucks, which I still will continue to have that, but an actual command vehicle that we could actually stage in the location and have hopefully a little bit more decent cell phone service, a little bit more of a GPS type of stuff to be able to effect those evacuations. So I do have a plan in effect on how to get all that stuff done. But it's like I said, it's related to my PTSD.
Yeah.
We're gonna be all right. I've transitioned to my PTSD being an opportunity for us to be better for sure.
Very cool.
So,
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, they did, I was at that same ops meeting, and the software that he's referring to, was formerly Zono even, and now it's like Genesis Connect or something. The ops committee did make a recommendation. I don't know, Bill, if you recall it coming to the board for final
Not yet.
approval.
It hasn't, if it just came out,
Yeah,
It was
I'll
at our
probably
last
see
meeting
it.
in December, so,
I'll
yeah.
see it this meeting probably.
Okay, good, because it's pretty phenomenal. I mean, it not only is it able to tell you real-time traffic situations, but it's also able to do real-time, or traffic simulations, based on, as, you know, Chief Roman said, how many people are evacuating, what the average number of cars would be, what the routes are, how long, if this many people all left at the same time to go to, it was pretty robust. It was impressive, and it's being used in a lot of places all around the country now, so, this is I was impressed, for sure, and certainly at that same meeting made the same point of, in that room, it's mostly fire professionals and agency management was kind of ensuring that there's a lot of coordination with law enforcement, because at the end of the day, the fire professionals are hopefully spending their time focusing on the fire and the threat, while law enforcement are the ones facilitating the evacuation part of it too. So, but it was interesting. So anyway, that's my 2 cents on it.
and hopefully we do have some exercise coming up to develop our playbook, and I'm going to see if we can invite at least the commission members to that, to join us and just observe, or, you know, just to be part of it too, hopefully. So,
Fabulous.
yeah.
Great.
That's awesome.
And we have some really cool guys, really awesome guys.
Yes.
That are in Engine 58 that we
Yeah.
love very dearly. And
Yes,
I think
and
they're
I
doing
was
an awesome job
Yeah.
at, you know, the sub-6 since I've
Well,
been
we're
on.
trying to get that down.
Well, right, or maybe to 3, 5.5, maybe, 5.
Any other questions or comments for Chief Roman at all?
Well, technically, we're still on we're not even to the fire department matters. We're still
No.
on your district matter.
Right. Well, but I don't
So
really
any
have
other
anything in the
questions
fire
for
department matters
Eric
other
too?
than his thing. So.
Okay,
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
thank you.
I am going to take off. I do
Please.
have an early
No
morning
problem.
meeting once again tomorrow morning with my battalion chief, so I do have to get some kind of sleep tonight.
Yeah, do it.
Thank you
Take
so
care of
much.
yourself.
Thank you so much.
It's a pleasure being
Good
here.
night.
Yeah.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Okay, so now, fire matters, appointing our fire commissioners for a term beginning January 1st, 2024.
I think it's great. We should
You think it's great that
appoint them.
Pascal wants to do it again?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, any objections? Okay, then, we approve and appoint Pascal, how do I pronounce his last name? To another term for the fire commission. A 2-year term.
And then the only thing I would add is I need to reach out and re-engage with Supervisor Sackett's office just to see what level of involvement, if any, they would like to have in helping us identify and appoint a new alternative commissioner as a CSA 13 rep.
So, Greg.
Greg's self, I thought he's stepping up.
Greg
We need
was
an
the alternate.
Oh, he was.
Greg is
Okay.
taking over the regular seat. Greg Stilson. So that opens up the CSA 13 alternate seat, which isn't a mad dash priority to fill, but it's nice to have the alternate seats filled as well. And I am assuming Supervisor Sackett might have a few names. She knows a lot of people in that neighborhood. Technically, the board bylaws say that the CSA 13 reps are appointed by the CSA 13 governing body, which technically is the county board of supervisors, which I seriously doubt they feel like making an agenda item out of all of this, so that's why
What about
it's
just
working
reaching
through it.
out to the homeowners association and asking them?
We've put some feelers out,
Oh, okay.
Greg's working on that part of it too, but,
But to make it official, they have to appoint it, not
Oh,
the
okay.
HOA.
Of the super-
or
But like-
delegate
Yeah,
us to, or whatever the case
Yeah.
may be. I would just like to have
but
this
right now it's
region
that.
supervisor,
Okay.
at least with a, invite for involvement, and if they choose to punt, we'll go from there.
Sorry, I misunderstood, sorry. Alright.
Great. I will inform us all.
So since we already went over the 5 minutes and 43 seconds, does anyone have any questions or comments about that? No.
Just that our guys are awesome.
Just what?
Just that our guys are awesome.
Park and Rec matters. Do you have a meeting? Do you have anything to add?
We didn't
No,
have.
there was no meeting
No meeting.
since the last board meeting anyway.
Okay. And then, does anybody have any interjection or comment
No?
about Ian, John, and Michael?
I think we're lucky to have all three of those guys
Yeah.
again.
I agree.
I'm so
Yeah.
happy that they all decided to come back.
So I will appoint
If they
Ian
want it.
Fine, John Campo, and Michael Benesh. Thank you. For another, is it still 2-year term too?
Yeah.
Yep.
2-year term.
And do we need another?
There is an open alternate seat,
Okay.
otherwise all the regular seats are
I
full.
couldn't remember if it was 4 or 3, so, okay.
No, there's one open alternate seat.
Okay, so we appoint them for another 2-year term.
All right, along there.
And Luke. It is you. All you.
Thank you. Good evening.
Good evening.
I just want to touch on a couple things from the past month that's been going on in the recreation department. We just finished 2 weeks of winter break camp, which we run every year for the kids on break, which went really well. A couple days of rain that made it a little tricky to keep these kids inside all day, but mostly it was great, and we got to be kind of our second wave of guinea pigs for the new playground, which was great. The kids loved being able to use the new playground equipment, and it was good for us to be able to, with our part-time staff, all of whom will be working, I believe most of them will be working this upcoming summer and summer camp, getting to get used to working with the kids with the new equipment and managing that and making sure everyone's staying safe and kind of dealing with, kind of getting a feel for that with a small group, which was really good prep for us because the new playground equipment is much more exciting and there's taller things and it was and everything went great. So that was a great couple weeks of camp, and we also spent time those 2 weeks interviewing staff for the coming summer camp positions. We got a lot of people looking for moving up the ranks to become camp directors and camp supervisors, and so a lot of things have come together, and our 2024 summer staff for all of our programs is, I think, really stellar, so we're excited about that. It's always good to see everybody doing a great summer here, and we took a lot of advantage of that. Our next big project, we're trying to finish up the spring-summer Marinwood review, our catalog of all of our programs and classes and events, and that's coming together. It should be out in mid-February. I think it'll be hitting everyone's homes. It'll be online a little bit before that, and then we'll be opening up the big registration for summer camps and pool activities in early March. So people should have plenty of time to get access to the information, and then they'll be able to know how to register. So we're still putting the finishing touches on that and working on that, but that's going really well. We have a lot of really cool programs and classes planned for the spring and the summer. Our next special events will be the annual Raise a Glass wine tasting, which is happening in early March on, March 2nd, Saturday, March 2nd. And then our spring art show after that, in the end of April, April 27th. Those should be awesome events. We'll tell you more about them as we get a little bit closer. That's what's going on in the rec department. The Parks Department, the big news was the playground opening. We're so excited to finally be able to open it up, which we opened it on December 13th. It was done a little bit before that. We were waiting on a couple last minute pieces that need to be installed and getting our official playground safety inspection report saying this playground's good to go and we can let people use it. So we had a fun little ribbon cutting ceremony with our preschool classes that day, which I have a photo of in here, which was very adorable, and the kids got to go wild, and our preschool teachers nervously trying to manage where the kids can go and how they can use it. So far so good, and the playground has been packed every day that hasn't been raining, and even days that has been raining, like as soon as the rain stops, there's people running from the cars to go use it. So that's been really exciting to see. People have responded super positively to the new equipment. All of the feedback we've received from people has been overwhelmingly positive, and the place has just been packed. It's been awesome. So it's been really fun to see everyone being so excited about it. We've seen older kids, which is our goal, being really excited about the new equipment. And the one thing we're still waiting on is, after seeing a few weeks of the playground in use, we need to get some of the matting that goes under the slides and swings, and we've got this little spinning device out there, and they can just run around in circles, and now it's all the wood chips are just displaced. It's just this mud ring around the thing. So there is a circular mat that we're ordering that will go there that will help with that, and some other matting that will be coming in the coming weeks. So, but that's been great. We're really happy with the response and with the use the playground's been getting. Other stuff going on with the parks maintenance staff. They've been doing some repairs in the pool bathrooms. We've got some new sinks. Those of you that use the pool, we've got those Alcatraz style sinks we've had forever. And they're gone, and only a couple of the buttons were working. So now we've got normal, real person sinks in there, and they work great, and we're excited for those. And the other ones we couldn't get parts for, and they were just ancient. So that's a big improvement. And then with all the rain, the staff's been busy just monitoring the creek, monitoring the drains, getting up on the roof, cleaning out the gutters, and making sure there's sand in the parking lot for people. We have started to do some erosion control stuff in the creek, just planting some willows and keeping an eye on everything. And so far, with all the rain, it's been spread out enough where the creek hasn't gotten crazy high, and things have been manageable. So so far so good. We're hoping that stays throughout the rest of the season. But that's all I wanted to touch on, but please let me know if you guys have any comments or questions. Thank you.
Any comments or questions?
Go ahead, sorry. No, go first.
I was just like, playground's awesome. I enjoyed it, my kids enjoyed it, my brother came in from Switzerland
And he enjoyed it?
yeah, he's 36 and he may have been on the play structure.
Nice.
I'm not gonna say yes or no. And then I also heard lots of parents basically dragging their kids out of there. Yes, this is so cool, we will definitely be coming back. And then listening to a bunch of moms talking, they were definitely not residents, so we're again going to be a destination playground. So
yes, it seems like that. I think that they'll probably wear off to some degree. People are making the trek to see the new playground.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we'll see. But so far, yeah.
and the mud thing was really fun for my kids.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Just yeah.
So we don't need a mat?
We need a mat because I heard a mom tell her kids not to go there while Mira's spinning, and then let go, and then went
That's
down,
what you're supposed to
and
do.
was just totally covered in mud, and the mom was, and that's why. But yeah,
Even though that was the
old school merry-go-round.
It's better though.
Remember that?
My kids might have completely trashed a pair of shoes of each playing at that
Yeah.
very specific play feature,
Yeah.
so.
Washing machine is definitely needed after. It was so much fun.
Just have them walk down the creek.
I just wanted to reiterate that, I've like, you know, when Meredith came home, I was like, you gotta come down, you gotta come see the playground. She was like, what?
Not fair.
And each time I brought somebody down to look at the new playground and the features and everything, it has been absolutely packed with that energy that like is so, that's why we do stuff like this, right? That's like what drives your passion to do your job is when you see energy like that from the community. It's amazing. And speaking of energy, I went on the Aponte down to Quietwood hike. It couldn't have been planned any better. I was coming up to the lowest bench, the first one as you're coming up the hill, but I was coming the other way. And as I was coming up, these 3 women like came up the other side, saw the bench, and like sat down. And I had like a great 5-minute interaction with them. They said that they hadn't been hiking Queenstone for a long time, and they decided that that was the day. It was just the other day when we had that really nice sunny Sunday. And I said, oh man, what do you think about this bench? And they were like, this is the greatest thing. They sat down there, they let me take their picture, if you guys want a picture from behind, looking out at the city and the hills. And they just said, whoever was in charge of this, whoever like did this, please tell them thank you. No, it's these guys.
Chris is like, you're welcome.
The funny thing was, and I had Meredith with me, and she was like, Dad, you've got to be so excited. That was so perfect. It just was, but it goes to show like all the hard work that you guys did, like putting that bench into place perfectly. Like it's just a really nice piece. And you know, we're not going to get a lot of feedback from people because it's far away from down here. But they were over the moon for it. It was really awesome.
That's awesome, that's
like,
great.
Couldn't have been timed any better. It was so perfect.
Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah.
Oh, I want, just one other thing, while you were talking about the playground too, that we were out there taking some photos and, you know, doing this little ceremony, but I haven't talked to parents about this yet, or I haven't heard people specifically say this, but from my own perspective, the new playground equipment is so much easier to watch kids on than the old one was. You can see all the way from one end to the other, all the way to the swings even, you have like an uninterrupted line of sight. And for some reason, it brings out all the like natural beauty of all the trees. Something it complements the setting in a way that the old structure, you know, did for whatever reason. And so I feel like that's just been a nice kind of added bonus. I wasn't expecting it to have, like, that wasn't part of the plan to be able to see all the way down, but they somehow did that for us. So that was great.
Yeah, the tree looks even more majestic.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah,
Really
Great,
does.
great colors.
good, yeah, great colors. Yeah, absolutely.
And we're gonna still put in some benches on the side.
Yeah, I've been scouting out benches, and we should have benches out there. A few. We've got plenty of room for them, so pretty soon, so we can get them shipped. So.
Okay.
Just in the playground, or how about down the panhandle, because you know how some people need to rest every 5 seconds.
Well, yeah, benches, we'll be considering benches for all sorts of different areas and needs.
And just, if I could, just while that is part of it, just to follow up on the Brian DeSanto piece, just so we don't lose track of that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Whenever you have, I know you guys are busy, but whenever you have time to.
Yeah, that's yeah, no, we haven't forgotten about that. It's definitely on our list of things. Is with the weather.
Yeah.
We haven't done too much with that north end of the park
Right.
in this last month, but we'll definitely be getting a selection of different options for what we can do to commemorate, and we'll run it by the group. So before we pull the trigger.
That'd be great. Thank you so much. I
The
appreciate it.
commemoration
Do you have any questions?
needs a date
Yeah,
that everyone.
Yeah, we can get down
you
there.
can get that.
I have a question. Are the water fountains working?
Yes. Which ones?
The ones in the park?
Oh, they're
So
awesome.
we
You
had
gotta go try
the
them.
water fountain that was in the playground that had not been working for too long. We were
Yeah.
able to fully replace with a much more playground friendly drinking fountain that does not have a drain to clog.
It just
Correct.
goes down.
Yeah,
That's really
and
cool.
so
Okay.
that's working. That's a big improvement on the old model. During construction, we did have both of the drinking fountain lines were damaged during we didn't know where they were, and they got kind of pulled up. So we had to run a new one for the drinking fountain, which was good.
Perfect.
It's better now. But the drinking fountain is like past the playground, that kind of old wooden one that kind of blends in. That one still doesn't have water to it, and we'll probably do that a little bit closer to summer. We don't really use that much until the summer season, but as of right now, the one in the playground is working.
And my aunt gives it 2 thumbs up, just.
Oh, good.
I was like, my aunt has it, and she does.
Well, there's one by the tennis courts,
Yeah.
that
Correct.
works too, right?
Right.
By both tennis courts, I think.
Yes, there's one just a little past the playground along that fence. It's not that far away that.
Right, I know what you're
Yeah,
talking
so that one's still.
And just to know, just so you know, the middle schoolers like the park as well.
Well, I have noticed, yes. All ages, seems like.
So,
I, on a totally separate note, walking back from school today, on the service road, and you guys probably know about it, but it jumped out at me, almost right when you enter from Queenstone to go to what I would call the fireman's picnic area, but I don't know what it's called.
Yeah.
There was an exposed plastic pipe.
Across the
Oh,
trail.
is it like in the dirt?
Yeah.
Yes, that.
It looks like it's probably a water pipe.
Yeah, we've had to, that's, thank you, yes,
Yeah.
we've had to bury that a few times.
I'm sure.
That's-
Probably has to do with the recent rains. I
Well,
don't
that's
walk,
good to know.
I don't walk back there a ton.
It's been exposed for a long time,
Yeah.
because when I walk up there to the pits on
Right.
Fridays, it's.
I
Is
think
there?
that's the water going to that drinking fountain out there. I think they could, but there could be something that's no longer needed. Yeah, but I'll double check with the staff. But thank you.
Yeah, appreciate it.
The other thing that has been brought up is the bridge over to.
which one?
Red or
Green Creek.
The red one.
It's
Yeah.
not ours, it's.
There's it was brought to my attention months ago, that there's pieces missing, and on one side, it doesn't look stable.
Is that,
So-
I don't think that's our bridge though.
But
No, that's
it's
not on
not
our
our
property,
bridge,
but
but it should be brought to the attention of the school.
The school has had maintenance staff out there doing work on that bridge a couple times in the last, within the last 6 months, last, I don't know, maybe less, but, so I think it is getting monitored by Miller Creek staff, to some degree, because they've had cones out there, and they've had a few things going on,
Yeah.
but I'm happy to follow, we got contacts over.
No, it was just brought up, it's been brought up by Roy.
Oh, okay.
Times, yeah.
Yeah, it is owned by the school district, and all of that property, even on the other side of the creek, is actually part of the school district parcel based on the way the creek, which is why that bridge was placed precisely where it was. And to Luke's point, the district is very well aware, and they had to do a lot of seismic work to about 2 or 3 years ago, where they had actually shut that bridge down for a few months. And yeah, we can easily send an email.
Yeah,
To their maintenance.
Just to bring it up.
Yeah, for sure.
Any other questions? Alright. H, board members' items of interest for future agenda?
That's where you raise your question.
No, I don't need to.
I don't know. PR's taking care of mine.
Me either.
I
Thought
think
we covered
24
my
looks
cell phone
really, really,
question.
really good.
I like your optimism. I will say for next month, I was really happy, and I should have thanked Michael more publicly, because they really kind of went above and beyond in getting the audit done as quickly as they did, given when we really started to engage them with stuff. But with that done, we will kind of start moving into budgeting, financial planning, everything else. So with next month's meeting, you'll have a Q2 P&L statement, financial statements, update on balance sheet balances, as well as Luke and I have already been talking, but in accordance with the policy that the board created and adopted last year, we'll start looking at like staff wage analysis and things like that that can be incorporated into draft budgets moving forward, as we see where we stand from a financial standpoint, just from an operating profit and loss, as well as Siobhan alluded to it earlier, other conversations we have had, because with each budget iteration, you won't see the first draft budget until March, but with each draft budget iteration, you kind of looking at where they'll also include actuals for the current year, which is a good time to kind of look at where we are, where we sit, where we finish in terms of other long-term liability investment type stuff. So if we wanted to address some of that, I will preclude that by saying it's still a little bit tricky as we kind of wait on FEMA funding and everything else, because we've got a large cash outlay happening that, while I anticipate being able to receive significant reimbursement funding for, until you receive the funding.
Not gonna hold your breath.
You know, it's no good until it's in your hand and in your bank account. So it's, all things to keep in mind with all of the above, including addressing long-term liabilities. But it seems like we just approved this year's budget a couple months ago, that we're already right back into the swing of things, right next year's budget, so.
I have a kind of rando but not rando question. It's about budgets and our liabilities. With the Daphne properties, whatever, if they're gonna sell those as units or if they're gonna build on them, the money we're gonna get from them in terms of taxes, will that help us with?
No, anybody will help us, sure. Again, I still think that any level of that happening, you're still a few years away. They don't, you know, they've gone through the planning stages. They don't have building permits or anything like that in place yet. I know what their proposed square footages are, and I kind of looked at what that is. I know how many total units they're talking about, so in terms of special assessment, I don't think you'll see a very large bump at all in ad valorem property tax because of that, because of ad valorem is more of a countywide figure and not isolated strictly to our little community here. So when you look at it from that standpoint, it's not a very large addition, but it will help on the special assessments. The one thing though, keeping in mind based on how our contract with CSA 13 rolls, is that's based on their percentage of the total square footage. We're gonna be adding square footage here, which is going to
That's
lessen
gonna reduce
their percentage, so any financial gains you're gonna see will be offset to a small degree
Yeah.
by a reduction in CSA 13 contribution.
I did not realize that.
Yeah, because right now they're roughly 26% of the total combined living space square footage for Marinwood, Lucas Valley, and then CSA 13.
So then what
So we'll
about,
add a little here, and you're talking about 28 homes ranging from 2,000 to, I believe, close to 4,000 square feet. So it's gonna add some square footage on our side, which is going to reduce their percentage. You know, we're talking about a percentage or two, but that's how we base what their contribution is, because they're 26%, so they pay an estimated 26% of the annual fire budget.
and what about the property that's above Big Rock, right? That's sold and that developer wants to do?
That
CSA?
is even much farther down the
You
line.
know, but I'm just, is that a CSA 13 or is that?
That has yet to even be decided. We don't know if that will be, I have no clue, to be honest with you. And nor did any of the people I've talked with the county, including the supervisor. They said that there hasn't been talk of annexation either one way or the other on this. This is
What are they considering now?
not even in the planning stages. He put in basically a request for development. So real plans and things like that haven't even made it to the planning stages yet, gone through any level of planning review. He just wanted to get in so that way he could say, I got it in by this time, so I could take advantage of builder's remedy and by right privileges, should I so choose.
That was a retirement community that they were gonna build?
No, she's talking about the one on, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe Savon's referring to the one that is actually south of Lucas Valley Road, kind of across the general area from where Big Rock Deli is right there. The retirement community, hopefully will be happening soon, but again, that'll also increase.
No, Lucas was gonna build, that's when we had
Oh yeah, I think
HMI.
that vision has long been squashed,
Gone.
and he has
Right,
zero
that's gone.
inclination of doing that
No,
whatsoever
this is
anymore,
the
yeah.
guy who bought that lot that was
Okay.
for sale.
Any more items of
That's,
interest for the agenda? Nope. I adjourn this meeting at 8:35.
Awesome job.
Oh, I'm glad.
Thank you.
Thank you.